Hello, adventurers. Lex Great here. Welcome to another entry. Today we are exploring episode 4 to the south. Okay, let's begin. A few visual updates. Trying out some new looks here. This is the world map. I'm gonna give it some pieces of flair on the background there, mainly the ocean. And then I'm still here. Slight angle. I got another monitor installed to help with the real estate on screen. We have our dice tray, but with the different background, obviously. In this episode, I'm going to try the Power by the Apocalypse system instead for the dice mechanic, not changing the whole game engine again. We already have my homebrew Frankenstein monster going on. So we'll be using the 2d6s and then just rolling. 6 or less is obviously a miss. 7 through 9 is a weak hit. 10 plus is a strong hit. Nothing much changes, but there's an expectation now because against the two challenge dice, you have this juggling effect, which I still absolutely love. But I want to experiment now that we are in Haldreth, which is kind of a contained area of chaos of its own, in its own respect, if that makes sense. We're not traversing the landscape of unpredictable outcomes. We're kind of in an isolated area that is surrounded by other humans, and there is obviously potential for danger, whether it's bureaucratic BS or uh, a an ambush by the arcane. Basically, I'm trying to see if 2DS might be a good alternative when we are in a settlement compared to the Ironsworn method when we are basically hex crawling. So after the dice tray, we have the Oracle. I will be trying out for this episode, the GM Emulator First Edition Fate Chart, and something I don't typically do or use is the Chaos Factor. We will actually use the Chaos Factor, and it's easier to track now because I'll just use this little graphic. Currently, we are, like I said, we're in a controlled environment, so I'll keep things at 5. Not calm, but not chaotic. We are right in the middle of the road. Next is the action and themes, which remains the same. Plot twist, pay the price, and of course our document. But here the document, I added 2 options for the dice mechanic, the one we were using mostly, which was the Ironsworn rules. And then we have Power by the Apocalypse rules. 2d6 plus mod. And then we have the 3 possible outcomes. Okay, so we are still focused on mortar. We have to remember that the item mortar was going to use to commune with Damon at a distance is currently broken. It's shattered because of that little scuffle we had with those darn orcs. So I think what's on his mind right now, besides the oh wow, my brother might be here somewhere, it's oh yeah, the thing I have to communicate with Damon to say, hey, I found my brother is currently um in pieces, literally. So it's going to be troublesome to be like, well, which piece is the microphone, which is the speaker? It's like, yeah. So I think because we are in Haldreth, we're in Haldreth right now, right then on the center right. We have the possibility of finding a vendor or a magic shop of sorts that can help repair it, probably for a pretty penny. But I was thinking, what if it's not going to be a vendor, but a certain organization that specializes in a certain type of magic? Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Basically, the archives. I'm assuming they're going to step in here anytime. On top of current the current mission, we have to go see the council. The Council of 12. These guys are the theocratic rulers of Haldreth, and they are very intrigued to see us because maybe they didn't know that there was more kin of the Ashford line. So let's do that next. And in doing that, I believe we left off. It's been a couple days. Took a break. That is taking a break to me. Um, we were being escorted by some city guards on our way to the main chamber hall, and we are basically going to appear in front of the consul, which we had a run-in with Hulf during his arc in Past Echoes. So, how does it work out? Well, we have a couple of interesting aspects that might actually be a worth compel. We have Find Hulf, that is on Mortar's mind right now. We have social anxiety, which actually might qualify here because we're in a big city. We are a fish out of water. We also have Dark Realms connection, which might be in the background more than anything. But I think on our way to the council, I keep saying console, social anxiety might be worth a compel. So I have 3 fate points at the moment. And if we are being escorted by a guard, we are simply just following him. We don't really feel endangered by any means. We don't know of the arcane. Well, we know. I take that back. We do know the arcane. Let's go to our lore sheet. We do know about the arcane, and that's because that was something spoken by the guards who provided us passage from Dorman to Hallrith. So we know of the name Jory and the arcane. But I don't believe that Mortar knows how dangerous the arcane is, and he does not know of the archives. I haven't really mentioned that yet. It's not in the lore here. So we know of the archives, but Mortar, he's an outsider. Like I said, fish out of water. So social anxiety might be a aspect that's very worth compelling. And as the player slash GM, I have to decide if I should to accept it. It's I feel in character, but he's focused enough to he's he's excited enough. He's eager to meet his brother, but he's also nervous to meet the council, this very theocratic body of individual leaders that run the city. He's never experienced this before in his adulthood. So I think social anxiety should wait till we get into the chamber. I'm going to hold off on that roll, but I want to roll to see if anything happens when we go from the entrance of Haldrith. We're still zoomed out here. I'm not really going into every single detail regarding how wide is the path, how wide is what kind of stone is used in the floor, how many people are around us, how's the weather, what time it is. I'm not doing that. We're zoomed out right now. We're just basically summarizing a scene from afar. So let's ask the action themes oracle for this one. Hey, action themes oracle, are you awake? All right, let's roll. This is going to be for action. Okay. 27. Abandon. 67. War. Abandoned war. Okay. I think this is funny, actually. This does actually line up with the timing of things. So, if you recall, in Past Echoes, this abandoned war details a visual aid of what happened in Past Echoes with the whole arc. Basically, we're walking through the courtyard and we just see things toppled over, disaster. There is some, not dead bodies, but there's basically people on the ground recovering. I think, literally, I'm going to have to keep track here of like the time of events because this is going to be a mix mash of memory and trying to get it on paper here for you guys. But basically, if you recall from past echoes, if you guys have been following along, and I know I have some very dedicated viewers and always appreciate the attention to detail and the current and the engagement. um, Hulk had a run with the Arcane and the guards, and Jory was there, and there was just chaos. They were chasing some Arcane members through the alleyways and streets of the city, and so that is basically what Mortar is seeing. And it's probably literally it's on the same day. Like, it just happened. They are out of here. Jory and Hulk are gone. They left the city. They, I think, went to Ashford after realizing what they just encountered probably needs to be explored more, if I recall correctly in my mental notes here. But anyways, that's when the timeline meets up with Mortar. We caught up to about the last third of the Past Echoes arc, last quarter or so. Might be a big space in there I'm missing out on, but that's where we are, Mortar. So abandoned war, abandoned. Hulk is not there. War. It was just a battle scene. There was just chaos everywhere. No dead bodies. Just uh, vendor carts rolled over on their side, and people like, oh, what's going on here? What I can't work like this kind of stuff. So that actually is a that I believe compels not the social anxiety aspect I mentioned, but now I'm thinking about compelling find Wolf, find Hulk. So he is walking through the alley. He's walking through the courtyard like this, and he turns his head with the guard in front of him, and he sees maybe just a brief glimpse of some things that has shenanigans, post shenanigans, some basically some chaos just happened. He asks the guard, "What happened here?" And let's do our first roll for the new oracle to see does the guard answer. Now, from Mortar's perspective, the chaos factor is indeed 5. If this was Hulk, it would be probably higher if I'm doing this right. If it's more chaotic, I'm assuming it's more higher. But it's Mortar. We are at pretty steady hands at the moment. So I'm going to stick with 5. So, does the guard detail what happened here? Let's see what happens. We're rolling, I'm going to say 50-50. Sorry, I forgot to check with that. 46, 50-50. He does. That is a very, very weak yes. So I almost forgot to say the probability to it, but he does, but not a lot of detail. A very, very weak yes says, well, we were having some trouble with the arcane, and we dealt with it. That's all he says. I don't think he's going to mention Hulk. That might be out of his pay grade. Because it was a weak yes, I just want to mention Arcane. And so Mortar's he has a he has his first impression with the Arcane up front. This is his first impression. It's okay. They're going to cause trouble. I have to be ready. Seeing that, but the guard says we took care of it. But he's not detailing how well they took care of it. Did they capture all the Arcane members? Are they still at large? Is the leader secretly being the best friend of my own brother? That kind of thing situation. So he knows of the arcane, and that's just another piece of the puzzle, basically. Like, oh, great, I'm gonna have to figure this out. Okay, so we get to the main city hall. And it's this large building with towering golden tops, and we get inside. This is the same area, main foyer that Hulk walked through not too long ago, which was probably in the earlier episodes of the Past Echoes arc, which again was a prior arc we did. And he approaches these large, magnificent doors. They are inscribed with ancient murals and writings. So while he's seeing this, it's not really. I don't really think it's in his character to be like, oh, I have to analyze all this. What does this mean? That would probably have been more Ed written than anything. Or Hulk probably would have bothered because Hulk was raised by Edwin. Edwin was a sage slash nomad who just kind of broke the rules and explored. Was very a risk taker. If that makes sense. So Hulk probably would have had some interest in reading these murals, but Mortar is slightly younger. I don't think that really fits his character. he is more focused on finding his brother. And I'm looking at the my lore notes here while I'm talking, and I'm just thinking if this would, it's probably wouldn't really. He's probably more interested in looking at some shiny things like some gold or some uh, holy grail looking cups sitting on the shelf on the display than anything. But yeah, the door's open. The guards don't enter, and he enters by himself. We see this large riser with the round table, kind of a half moon shaped um, seating with tables in front, and they are elevated probably 12 feet up in the air, and we are at the bottom of it. So think Doctor Strange, Masters of or Multiverse, the second Doctor Strange movie, and he's walking up to the Illuminati, and they're up there, kind of seated in front of him. But there's 12 of them. But then there's also like a table with some linen, some Pepsi products, and some other items. um, so he walks up and he's looking. The door's closed behind him. He's like, okay. And he's this is what he expected. He was told to see the console. He just didn't. He wasn't sure what to imagine what they looked like up close. This is where we compel social anxiety. So, how to do so? You know what? I compelled earlier find Holf, and I forgot to spend. I accepted it, so I need to. I get a fate point. I forgot. I totally missed that. I haven't done this. I've done an invoked in a little bit, but I'm sorry. I'm compelling it, which meant I accept it and I get a fate point from earlier. So that's going to be 4 total. And now we are compelling social anxiety. And I believe I'm going to spend a fate point to refuse it. Basically, if that makes sense. So I think Mortar's just too focused on the social anxiety, meaning he's nervous. He's in front of these 12 very powerful looking individuals, basically 12 politicians, and he's not sure what to expect. He probably has an inkling that he's here because of his brother. The guards did tell him that. I believe they told him that this has to do with his brother. But he's going to keep his mouth shut and just listen. So I'm going to ignore the compel, refuse it, and he stands there. He's looking around. He's waiting for them to speak. And one does speak up, and let's see what they say. So let's go to our action and themes. And as usual, we're going to roll action first. 44 will be the following. Bolster. Okay, I can see what they're going to say here already. Bolster 54. Of course, is being covered by the number there. For bolster creature. Ooh, okay. Bolster creature. Bolster creature. Okay. So the first thing, the creature could be metaphorical. It could be them on themselves, bolstered. If I'm not mistaken, that basically means to hype up or like just build up something, bolster. Let me do a quick little definition check. Yeah, to strengthen, to support, to build up. I was right, in a sense, close. So they're basically, we are the council. One guy whispers, council. We are the council of Haldrith. We have called upon you by pure coincidence. Essentially, they say, I'm not trying to roleplay every line here, but they basically say who they are, what they do, and how significant Mortar's presence is, at the same time, a coincidence. One other council member says, this must be destiny at play. We are being tested by the gods. We just dealt with, and then they're all shushing each other. The council doesn't say anything else. So the one council member was about to say, Hulf, we just dealt with, or we just spoke to Hulf not too long ago. But for some reason, the council does not want to mention that. I think they want Mortar to be, they're testing Mortar to see if he's smart enough to know why he's here. Well, we just kind of spoke to some guards earlier on the way to Haldrith about the whole incident with Hulf and our king. So this will be a aspect. We'll be rolling for, I think, clever +1, and I'll be spending a fate point. So now I'm down to 2. So I refused earlier to spend that 4th one. I'm spending a fate point, a Nuka-Cola cat. to invoke Find Hulf. And that will be a total of 2 on this roll. Remember, we're doing the Power by Apocalypse system. So clever, we're trying to add, convince, or show that we are smart enough to know, hey, I'm here because of my brother. So let's roll for this. This will be the Oracle or the dice tray on 4. And let's roll with a +3 total. Actually, invoking gives +2. Let's do +2. I was kind of scaling it down because it's the 2 through 12 on the 2d6s, but I'm going to do +2 here. So let's do +2 for the invoke. So we're doing +3 total on this roll. It still could fail. The dice went on vacation. Let me call them back. There we go. +3 total. That's going to be 7, 8. So we have 8 total, or 8 natural, and then 9, 10, 11. That is a standard success. That's a strong hit. So, Mortar says, I'm assuming I'm here because of my brother, Hulf. And then he goes to detail what he found out. He says, I've traveled from Corwood looking for my brother. And just by the grace of the gods, I found out that he was here. And he's looking up at the council. The council are starting murmuring amongst themselves or whispering. And one council member leans forward. He says, "You are a true descendant of Ashford." Even though he's like the first generation. Or, well, Ashford could have been, what, 100 years? Let's go to let's do a lore check. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. So we have the timeline. I don't really have noted when Ashford was discovered and built or settled, but essentially, Escabur Prime, I'm going to assume Ashford was developed somewhere, let's see, maybe between year 3 to 30. I think that's what, and then it's now been up to 80 years, so 75 years later. Okay, I mean, that's fine. The council member says, you have the blood of the Ashford name running through you. And you are here before us. This is a rare moment in time. Your brother stood right there where you are, not too long ago. And from what we've been told, looking around, it looks like he had a friend with him. A very strange friend. Someone, and he, again, keeps looking around. He doesn't speak. Another council member steps in and says, someone with a very strange magic. And so Mortar says, he's looking up and says, I heard he was with someone. Do we know his name? Mortar knows, but he wants to see the council knows. The council replies, well, let's ask the Oracle. I think things are getting a little more intense here. Not confrontational, but contextually. Let's pull up the Oracle, and let's increase the Chaos ranking to 6. So, does the council know the name of Jory? Let's say very likely because of their connection to their friendship or partnership with the archives. Very likely. Okay, that's a yes. Let's do it. So we're basically right there, very likely. Chaos factor 6. Chaos rank 6. Jory, one council member says in the corner. His name was Jory. And he was outside when we were speaking to your brother here. He did not partake in the conversations. But we are very suspicious of him. What is your intention of knowing this? As the council member asked for more. They're basically trying to, they're not grilling Mordo. They want to know why he's here. Not just because of his brother, but why he's here at heart. And so let's say another member says, what brings you here to Haldreth? We assume it's not just your brother. Mortar is going to say, because my father. And the father mention is what really sparks them all. Because I think they assumed father was dead, and it was just earlier at Holf when he walked into those doors, and now the brother. So one customer basically, he's like, "Your father's alive," and Mortar's like, "Yes, very much so. We've had quite the adventures lately. Is this significant?" And the council members start murmuring amongst each other. And one member leans forward and says, probably the oldest one, the wisest one. He goes, "Your father. His name. What is it?" And Mortar says, "Damon." "Why? I assume you would know that." The old councilman, probably should be saying councilman. He looks to his colleagues. He says, "Damon was a very influential member of the Ashford name. The fact he's still alive complicates what presided earlier in this very hall." So basically, what they're saying is that um, the name was given back, the royalty was given back to Hulf in the prior arc. Totally forgot. I think it was AI. It was post AI driven, but it was like the Ashford um, Mortar Hulf of Ashford. It basically was given this title of luxury of royalty. So now that his father's alive, there's a not a false prophet, but there's someone who doesn't deserve the name or doesn't can't bear the name. And so Mortar says, "Look, I appreciate your hospitality, allowing me to enter your city walls, but I am here to find Holf and bring him back home to my father, so we can once again can be a family. We thought he was dead for as long as I have been alive, for 20 years, 25 years maybe. Do you know where I can find him?" And so they're conflicted here. They mean the council means well, but they felt like they made a mistake giving Hulf the name of Ashford. Now there's this, now there's other Ashford member here, and then there's a third one somewhere up north. So the council says, they start murmuring amongst each other, and I think most of them leave. Let's say one sits forward, one stands up and says, "We must discuss this. We are going to adjourn, but please do not leave the city." And they all leave. They all turn around and leave. They all walk out the room. And so the doors open, and one of the guards walks up to Mortar, looks to him, and says, "So, I will escort you off these grounds. Any place you wish to go specifically while the council debates your position." And Mortar's like, "My position?" Like, "Yes, I can explain more as we leave." So they leave the halls, and they're outside. So this might be the same guard or same like council secretary of the council. It's like some what do you call it? Pencil pusher that works there. He says, "Yes, your brother was given the title of Ashford. Uh, that is a very high profile name in these lands." Mortar's like, "Really? So this village of Ashford, I've heard about it. We know that I think Mortar knows about the village, his home. but not the significance about it. The whole portal to the Dark Realms. He says, yes, you do not know much about your village? Has your father ever told you about it? And Mortar says, no, he has not talked much about our past. Just memories, perhaps. Recently. I don't think he'll detail. Dark Realms connection. So he's thinking about his past. We can compel Dark Realms at this point. Let's compel Dark Realms. So, in doing so, I accept the compel. Get my third fate point here. And essentially, he starts to recall what happened in the Dark Realms to this pencil pusher, this random member of the lower council. I not really anyone important at the moment. But he's like, I was in a strange place that starts detailing what happened to his father. He was seeing flashbacks as he was losing control, and his eyes started to go dark. And the guy grabs him, sir, or he's like, excuse me, wait, are you okay? He says, yeah, I just, um, yes, I'm sorry. I just was recalling something. I just kind of snapped out of it. So this guy, he's looking around and says, look, I want to do a slight retcon here. I want to say that this individual we're talking to also spoke to Hulf and Jory outside the council doors and gave them some tips or some advice. So let's say he does the same thing to this guy, to Mortar. Just listen. I believe while the council debates your arrival, while they converse and devise a plan for you, Mortar's like, they have a plan for me. What am I under their control now? And then the guy's like, yes, you are in their walls. You are now part of this city. They have authority over all of us. And Mortar's like, oh, crap. So, anyways, unless you have royalty, then you're able to freely move about the cabin, kind of situation. He says, "Look, go to the main library in the central part of the city, and look for the lower levels. You seek the archives. They are a group that of high profile influence. I cannot say more, but I believe with confidence that they have interacted with your brother. Not only they may have information about your brother and your family lineage, but also they may have a way to help you. They collect and research magical artifacts. Ding, ding, ding. This is what I was looking for earlier. So I'm kind of giving Mortar here a silver platter for a fix, a plot device. But basically, Mortar's like, did you see magical artifacts? He says, yes, they're known for collecting. Not again, keep this to yourself. Not a lot of people in the public know about the archives. They work in secret, but we know about them. People who work for the city, people like you and me, we know about them. The guards, even they know about the archives. They are a real partner in our city. And so Mortar's like, okay, I will go seek them. So he says the council will take about maybe an hour or two in world time to converse. Probably just take a bathroom break. And they will go to, Mortar will go back to the central part of the city where we passed earlier and enter the library. I don't recall if I mentioned the library was close by the main city hall. Let's just say it's just down to the right. So he walks and he enters the main library. If I recall correctly, I might be overlapping an old series I did. So I'm trying to think of when Hulf entered or when Jory entered when Jory entered the library, the main library, he spoke to like a secretary, someone who worked at the front, the desk. So I'm thinking that Mortar does the same thing, but they told Mortar to just go to the back and look downstairs. And so Mortar just enters through. One person at the desk welcomes him in, and he just continues. He nods and continues walking in. It's a library, public library. You can enter, leave as your own at your own free will. And he sees in the back there is a staircase that there's the railings, the staircase that goes down, but there's someone guarding it. There's not a hood individual. There's just a common someone wearing common clothing, street clothes, just standing there looking at Mordred as he approaches. Mordred thinks that this could be a member of the Arcane because he looks like someone out of place. Doesn't visually look like dressed like someone out of place, but he's just standing there. So Mordred approaches and he says, "Hello. Um, I've been told to look for," and he kind of leans in close. "The archives are here." Or he says, "I seek to speak to the archives." And the person guarding he doesn't flinch. He just stands there. Remember, they're on high alert because, well, actually, timeline of events, Jory would have attacked or arrived much later at this moment. So I'm going to say that the guard is just naturally at his post. He's not like on high alert, like, oh no, we're going to be attacked anytime soon. But, well, actually, no, that could be wrong. If where we are in the timeline, if the Arcane had a scuffle outside with Hulf, Jory, Slash, and company, then most likely the archives are also on high alert. So this individual says, "I don't know what you're talking about." That's all he says. And so what this will be a clever +1, and we are invoking Find Hulf. I mean, I do a tactical genius, but we're not like going to attack this guy. So we're using Find Hulf as an aspect. We're gonna basically pay a fate point for +2. So clever is +1. We're using essentially +3 total on this roll. So we're rolling to convince him to let us through. We're referencing, Mortar basically says, "I'm the brother of Hulf. Would you deny me entry based on my family name?" And that will be probably a clue or a way to push through. So we're doing +3 on this next roll. Whoops. Dice tray. +3 on this roll. Remember, powered by the apocalypse. And that's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 again. So we have 11. So the guard, or the man standing in front of him, his eyes widen. "You are brothers of Hulf." He sizes him up. "Indeed, I can see it in your aura. You show great potential. Please follow me." And he leads him downstairs. So if you recall from the past Hulf, past echoes, they enter downstairs. The door opens, and there's that old lady. She's a witch, or she's some powerful magic user. They enter, and I completely forgot about the character in charge of the archives. I forgot her name. She was in the first few episodes, or first in the past echoes. Let's go to the lore. I don't even think I wrote her down. Might have lost the document. I've gone through several mediums of tracking this campaign. So let's go to character list. I highly doubt. Yeah, Moss is not who we're thinking about. Let me pause the video and I'm going to make a brand new character to take the place. I know it's a female character, but I'm going to make just a brand new character name and just some basic descriptions to start. So I'll pause the video and we'll be right back. Okay, that did not take too long. I thought of a character. Let's take a look. Her name is Shafa. She is a female character, human, roughly in her 40s, and she's a leader of the archives. That's really all we know about her now, so consider this a blank slate for her character. So she is the one who typically sits in the back main room, main lab study room. So, but there's this old lady, not her, who is the mage or the magic user probably of the group. And I think she has a cane of sorts. And so she stops us. We enter, and this older mage stops us. It's like, you're very familiar to me. She sizes us up. She looks around her shoulders and says, "Your aura." They keep referencing aura. I'm going to show that there's is like some of these individuals who work for the archives are magically in tune with seeing people's spiritual aura, quote unquote. So she said, you are related to. Hold on a second. I gotta remember. Does this line up? Has she ever met the Holf character? Or Holf? Shoot, I don't recall that. You know what? Here, I'll do this. Just to cover, this plot hole. I'll say she sees and senses great significance, great royalty in our name, in our presence. She says, "You are very special here, aren't you? What is your name?" And Mortar goes, "I am Mortar." You are? And she says her name. We could make her into a character. Let's hold off for now. But basically, Mortar says, "I'm here to speak to whoever's in charge. Is that you?" She says, "Oh, no, no, no. I guard the door." Because that's what she did last time. She was at the door. She guards the door. She says, "But I can show you to whoever's in charge. You were obviously invited here by our main post at the top there, the stairs." She says, "Please follow me." So she turns around and leads us to the main door. And like Jory, Mortar is seeing all these very nice shiny objects and different doors, different type of everything's labeled and bureaucratic, so everything's like nicely organized. So magic stones, weapons, armor, etc. I mentioned that before in the past echoes. I think I did video. And so we get to the main door. It's a study hall. It's a study, and the old lady lets us in. And there is Shafa. She's reading a book, has some glasses on, and she looks up and sees us, and her eyes widen up. So she has a feeling of who we are. I'm going to assume that a lot of the most magically, the most magically aware characters in the archives are they can sense people just by their presence alone, whether they're far or near, and like how significant they are to society. I don't know. I'm trying to be not too vague here, if that makes sense. But basically, oh, look at you! You're the main character. So, but essentially, she looks up and she was almost like expecting us. Maybe too soon. And she says, you, you are very familiar to me." She points to us. Like, "Do you have a father?" And Mortar says, she says, "Is your father alive?" And he says, "Yes." Let's actually ask the Oracle what she says here. So let's pull up the Oracle. I guess we'll go through that roll there. 37, Hunt. And 42, Vengeance. Ooh, interesting. So, if I'm not mistaken, let me get the document ready here for a timeline. I'm checking the age. Actually, let's go through the age here. So, Hunt and Vengeance. Damon is 60s, 50 years old, 50s. Okay. And she's 40s. Let's say upper 40s. 40s. Okay. Let's say that she actually met Damon years ago in Haldreth, or better yet, yeah, and because I believe, whether I'm retconning this right now or I'm not mistaken, but I believe after the Master attacked Ashford, they split up, and Half and Half Edrin slash Damon Mortar, they split up, and Mortar and Father Damon went north. But I'm thinking they crossed through Haldreth, and maybe she met him through a fight or some kind of shenanigan ensued, and they met. So she met Damon years ago in Haldreth. I'm gonna say it was a fight or something regarding. You know what? Let's just leave that to interpretation. But basically, she says that she met Damon years ago, and Mortar's like, "That is very impressive. How can you tell?" And she also uses the excuse, "Your aura. You have Ashford written all over it. You've been to the Dark Realms, haven't you?" And he's like, "Yes, very recently. So that's how she knows. So she stands up, she walks to the mortar, and she like taps him on the head, taps him again, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He says, "Your mind. It's very clouded. I can see. The dark realms can do a real number on your mental state. How long were you in there for? And where? How did you get in there?" Mortar's like, "Look, it doesn't exactly help me in bringing back this up. I just when I when I think about it, I just go cold. I don't I lose track of time, and I think about Arlok." She's like, "Arlok, right? Of course, of course. Arlok is one of the sites." And he says, "Sites? What do you mean?" She says, "The Dark Realms. They have there are several portals around the land of Escubar, and certain settlements have become gateways into the Dark Realms. Protective gateways. The Dark Realms." She closes the door. The old lady is outside. She just walks back to her door. She's the guard of the door. Um, she's the Walmart greeter essentially. "Welcome to the archives. The toiletries on aisle 5." So she's like, "Please have a seat." And so Mortar sits down, and she picks a book off the shelf, which is yeah, it's suitable for the picture here because that's kind of what I picture her office to be, or her study. So she goes through some books, and she finds one, like maybe a journal, and she says, "The dark realms are not just complete darkness, but they are a visual mirror of our world. But there are unknown forces that drive it. I have a feeling that Holf, your brother, who I've met once before." Well, yeah, see, this is where I lose track of past events. So I'm gonna leave that out for now. Just ignore that. Basically, she's saying that the Dark Realms are extremely dangerous, and they've been doing research based on artifacts collected from the prior settlers or the prior natives to this land. And that is the let's see, let's pull up my lore here. She mentions the name the Eldorians. She mentions the Eldorians had a very pristine, peaceful presence with the Dark Realms years ago. And she's going through like a historical book that wasn't actually that wasn't written that was written not too long ago. She's probably writing herself, and based on the ruins in the Watchstone Island, she mentions that she's saying that the Eldorians mysteriously vanished almost 600 years ago. And she believes it was most likely the Dark Realms. These portals, as we discovered, as our people, the Sheshans, settled here, they built around these portals. There are 3 of them. So let's go to our character sheet and write that down. We now know that, um, let's say, knows of the 3 portals to Dark Realms. Oops, Dark Realms. And I'm going to write that Shara is, let's see, very book smart, historian, magically aware, magic awareness, and let's say, yeah, that's good for now. So she's basically telling him that the Dark Realms, she feels, she has a theory. She's never been, we can ask the Oracle, let's actually check the Oracle. So things are very calm right now. We're not really running into any problems just yet. Let's go to the Oracle. I'm going to lower the chaos factor back to 5. We're inside. We're in a safe space. Has she ever been in the Dark Realms? I'm going to say 50-50. I actually don't know the probability of that yet. 50-50, that's a, ooh, wow, that's a 15. 15 is actually okay, it's a standard yes. She has been to the Dark Realms before. She says, "I have been there. Not for long, but the one in your home of Ashford. before the dragon attacked. Then he remembers the dragon. He's like, oh yes, I remember. Or no, it actually doesn't. He's like, my memory is foggy of that. I've heard of the attack, but I believe I was unconscious during the attack. I lost a lot of memory from that moment in time. It's just yes, it was quite the darkest moment in our history, our very young history on this island, as we still continue to grow. She says that was that was the work of the master. Different. That'll be a talk for a later time. But the dark realms, as I was in there, based on what I know, I believe it's a sentient being that occupies that realm. A very dark being. Whoever becomes entangled with the dark realms becomes a potential extension of that force. So what she's saying is that anybody who's in the dark realms becomes a conduit for the dark realms entity, which remember we know. Well, we know as the creators, this is the dark realms entity. I don't recall if I showed the whole description, but basically, here's what I'm building off this character. He's going to be possibly, we'll see how long I go with this campaign, but he will be a future enemy antagonist to the dark realm. So this is definitely spoiler territory. He's ageless. He's master of the darkness dimension, immortal wielder of dimensional magic, shapeless, only comprehensible to the family and lineage of Ashford or any settlement that is exposed to an active portal, capable of enticing members of the lineage similar to followers of cults. So I don't think she knows that much detail about the guy, so, about the entity. Um, Actually, from the recent Mission Impossible movies, let's use that name. I'm gonna go with the entity. So we will say the Dark Realms entity, the entity, Dark Realms entity, and let's say she has a theory that the Dark Realms is sentient, but does not know of the entity. Okay, Dark Realms. Yeah, I'd say that's probably enough. So definitely some world building in this episode, more than I expected. But it makes sense. We are in the archives, and she's a very smart individual. That's why she's essentially the leader of the archives. So Motor says, look, I appreciate all this information on the Dark Realms and kind of clearing up some details about what happened to me in the Dark Realms, but I need to find Wolf, my brother. That's why I'm here. My father, I made him a promise. And then he realized the stones. He said, oh yeah, the stones. And then she's intrigued, what stones? What stones? He pulls out the broken stones. And he shows her to her. And she's fascinating. These are ancient relics. What happened to it? She said, orcs attacked. I was in Dormon. And she's like, Dormon? Hmm. Don't continue. So we were attacked by orcs. I got into a scuffle with a couple of them and it's broke. Can you fix it? It's a communication device. I can speak to Damon. Apparently just for an instant with I think once a week or something like that. She says that's a very powerful magic, especially how far Colwood is. That's all in the north end of the island. He says, yes, can do you have anybody that can fix this? She says, I might have someone, or even, well, I'll find someone to fix this for you. Because if you make me a promise. So again, the archives are they're good people, but they're neutral good, if that makes sense. They're not like they need favors to help. They're not evil. They just need favors. So let's go to the action themes. And I'm going to do plot twist actually on this one. Maybe. As always, I'm plot twist or pay the price. I'm always kind of iffy on depending on how bad it is. But let's see how this goes for a favor. Roll a d6 or d10 100 here. And 37. So more dangerous foe to okay. The master. So she says, I will fix this for you. And as you find your brother, I need you to find someone for me. And she says, I think at this very moment, the master has not been awakened yet, but she wants something So this is a side quest. She wants something from the Master's Palace, the Temple of Dragons. She says, if you travel south from here, there is an ancient temple called the Temple of Dragon. I need you to go in there and get something for me that was stolen from the archives long ago. And he says, okay, I accept. So I'm going to find out what that item is. What is something that we talked about in past echoes? I don't recall detailing much on any items in the immediate area within the chapel of the Temple of Dragon when they fought the dragon in the last arc, or the master. So trying to think of what she's looking for. Maybe it's an ancient sword. The magic sword. That's a Mystery Science Theater episode. The magic sword is hilarious. So it's what the Joel episodes, if you guys know of the show. But it's the magic sword. So I'm going to keep making a little note here, basically. So she wants. So she will fix this communication stone of mortars, but in exchange for the magic sword at the Temple of Dragon. All right, so fix communication stone. I'm going to do bold, highlight red, and then the magic sword at Temple of Dragon. Bold, highlight. Let's do highlight yellow just for the opposites there. Okay, so that's quest, which means we need to go all the way up here to here. And this could be fixed, but needs to retrieve magic sword for Shafa archives. This is a side quest. She will then fix these stones. There you go. Let's not forget that. All right, so in exchange for helping with the stones, she's probably the only one who can, or only they're the only people in this city that can fix it of such powerful magic or rare magic. I don't know. That she just needs a favor, and he reluctantly accepts. I was thinking about compelling aspects, like needs to find his brother. That's more important, but he has helped before. That's kind of in character for him. He has helped the Dorman crew help defeat or rescue that villager, and then defeat those two orcs. So it's kind of in character. It makes sense for me to have him do this. So he accepts, and so she provides him with a map. I'll write down a map of the area, map of South Escabur, which I call the Southern Island. So I'm going to put down the Southern Island. I'll go to the map, guys, so you can see it. The Southern Island. Map of Southern Island. And she basically warns Mora to travel with caution. The mountains surrounding Temple of Dragon are dangerous and most likely have traps set up by the Master. She says, if you can find help, I highly encourage it. And he says, the Master? And she details who the Master is. He's the ancient one who well, actually, yeah, I'm thinking they know who this is. Let's connect some dots here. So, yeah, let's go to our document here, because again, I have a lot of little subplots going on here, a lot of threads we're needling here. So basically, let's close that down, bold. She knows the Master was. Oh, let's say the Master occupies the Temple of Dragon, but believes he is dead, which he's not. We know that. So, okay. So she warns him about who the temple belongs to, but that he's dead. So, should be easy, right? He accepts. He seems a little more confident. He's, oh, okay. Well, I'll just be some sure. I'll probably have to take care of some traps. I can do that. I'm a thief. And so she thanks him. She thanks her. I'm sorry. He thanks. Well, she does thank him. He thanks her. They shake hands, and he does ask her, "Do you know where I can find my brother on the way? Is he in the city?" And she's thinking for a moment. I believe the archives wants to, or I believe the council actually might have information on that. And if I'm not mistaken, she has a little, like a little psychic moment. She says they're probably looking for you right now. So he says goodbye. He says he'll be back with the magic sword, and she leaves, or he leaves. He goes upstairs to the main floor of the library. Leaves the library. There are guards. Oh, actually, members of the council, not the council members, but like lower ranking. I'm not sure what to call them. Council guards. Again, city guards that ask for in order to follow them, and they head back to the council. So as he approaches the council, the city hall, it fades to black. That's where I'll close off this episode because it's been about 1 hour. But this was a probably one of my favorite episodes so far because a lot of no combat, but we had some rolls. But it's just all the connecting the dots. We are now intertwined. We are now connected to the past echoes, but at an earlier moment compared to all the crap that's going on in the past echoes at the end with the master. And so I have an idea what to do here, but right now, uh, Shafa has a quest for him that takes him to the Temple of Dragon, but the council wants to see him. So what are they going to say? What do they want him to do? They probably can present him with a quest, which might be a main quest, but most likely with his brother. So a lot of potential here, and I really enjoy it. So also before I close out, and I do enjoy this, but before I close out, I think some commenters mentioned, my frequent commenters, thank you as always. You guys like the idea that Advisor Jargon was kind of a little traitor, traitor pants. So he is Advisor Jargon. He's cooking up a plan to take over his brother's rule. I have an idea for this, and that has to do with um, the arcane. And I think he is just so jealous that a big buffoon, such as his older brother, Dungish, is the leader of. Let's see this from his eyes. He's been in his brother's shadow for so long. He is smart. He looks great for the women. He knows a lot. He's very smart, but he's egotistical. He's a narcissist. And why doesn't someone like him, with such luxury and panache, such flair, is not in that chair, the throne of this wonderful village that can have so much potential. Maybe he has like a vision for the village to become the next Haldreth of the Northern Island. So again, he's plotting something, and I think it has something to do with the arcane. And I'll leave it at that. I have an idea, but it has to match up with what's happening at Haldreth. It has to match up with how Jory operates. And we know Jory survived at the he did survive. I'm pretty sure he did. At the end of Past Echoes. So remember, he departs. He goes his separate ways. He doesn't kill or steal the essence of Hulk's spirit or anything like that. He goes his separate ways. Kind of a neutral, a neutral adversary. The Joker to Batman, basically, but on equal terms. Maybe Lex Luthor to Superman. I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good comparison. There's honor in the two. They can be rivals or arch nemesis, but there's an honor between them. I think Jory is going back to either Hallrith or the Arcane, the base of operations, wherever it is. I don't even think we found out where the base of operations is. I might have mentioned it, but I completely forgot. We'll figure that out later. But I think Jory is actually thinking of his next backup plan, which could be Advisor Jorgen here. So, yeah, I think it has to do with the arcane at that point. And that's really it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. I felt like a lot was developed here. Hopefully, I fixed some plot holes, or I might have developed some new ones. Yeah, but anyways, I do like how the Oracle worked out here. So let's move the Chaos rank a little higher, because now we're back outside, which makes sense. So that's it for now. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this telling. Please subscribe, like, share, and most importantly, comment. I will see you in the next entry.